Hello, welcome back to Buckle Up. My name is Rob Wilson, and this, as I'm sure you are aware if you live in Britain, is a Ford Puma. And today I'm going to find out if this deserves to be Britain's best-selling car. But before we drive it, let's talk about some of the exterior styling. So we'll start at the front. Now, if you are a child of the 1990s or were around then, the Puma didn't look like this. So you might be quite surprised to see that it is a crossover if you've been living under a rock. Not quite as surprised as the car itself looks. It's a happy face. Look, it's like, I'm a Puma. So it's got lights, big smiley grille, big Ford badge as well. These are new because it's been recently facelifted. I think it does look quite good actually. Not offensive, and that's probably why they sell so many of them. Down at the side, we have some sporty 18-inch alloy wheels on this ST line trim as designated by this badge. We've got tiny weeny little door mirrors. They look a bit like Shrek's ears. And then here we would have a fuel filler flap thing, but that's on the other side, and it's that easy fuel system, which is only easy if you don't have to put a jerry can in it for any particular reason if you ever run out of fuel, because then you need a special attachment. So don't forget that. And then at the back, we have a very sporty spoiler, we have a rear wiper, and we have the Puma script spelled out across the boot lid as well. There's a bit of a diffusory thing going on down at the bottom, but let's open up the boot, which on this model is electronic, and on initial inspection it looks fairly reasonable. Nothing to write home about, but because this is a Puma, it has, if I remove this boot floor, a mega box, that's what Ford call it, under the boot floor, which means you actually have 456 litres of boot space in here, which is gigantic. Also, the Mega Box, which is a fantastic name for something, has a drainage plug at the bottom. So if your Mega Box gets wet, then I can't say that. It also has a drainage plug. So if there are any wet things in the Mega Box, like wellies, then there's also a drainage plug in the bottom of the Mega Box. So if you've got wet things in your Mega Box, then it can be drained. That doesn't feel like a sentence you should say in a car review. Anyway, there's also lots of tethering points. There's a 12-volt socket, which is handy, a couple of hooks and various different things. Parcel shelf moves with the boot when you open it, and you've got 60/40 split rear seats, and they fold down and make a flat surface. So if you want to slide things across, it's nice and easy to do. Now, I'm going to close that up, probably, and go and see how I fit in the back. Here in the back, and first things first, let's talk about the amount of room that I have back here, because this seat is set up in my driving position, and for reference, I'm 6'2" or 188 centimeters tall. And as you can see, I can't sit up straight properly because my head is in the ceiling. Well, it's not the ceiling because it's actually, on this model, a panoramic sunroof. I can open up this shade here. So if I didn't have that, I might have a squidge more headroom. But if you do have that option ticked, that's something to bear in mind. Knee room, leg room wise, I can spread my legs either side of the front seat if I want to. I can just about get my knees in the cutout in the seat as well. So it's not that bad if you are a tall person or you're going to be carrying tall people. I would recommend looking at something like a Skoda Kamiq or VW T-Cross, because I do fit in the back of both of those cars. In terms of practical things we've got back here, we have seat back pockets on both of the front seats. I have a bottle holder in the door. We've got a 12-volt socket down here, as well as 2 USB ports. There is no armrest here in the middle, so if you want cup holders and stuff, that isn't something that you've got back here. You do have to rely on those door pockets. We've got Isofix on both the outer seats if you're carrying baby children. Materials back here, it's a bit scratchy up on the doors and where you rest your arm as well, but this is the back seat, so you can't really complain too much. But let's see if things are a bit better up front. Okay, so up in the front seats, and I obviously have quite a lot more room. I have the steering wheel from an Austin Allegro. It's Quartic. Not quite sure why that needs to be a thing. What was wrong with round steering wheels, guys? Come on. This is an ST line trim, so I've got some nice red stitching that goes across the dash and on the steering wheel itself. But that is in a bit of contrast with the hard plastics that are on top of the dash and stuff like that. There are cars with nicer quality plastics in this class. But this has been facelifted quite a lot in here. We've got a very big screen in front of me, which is all digital now. So you've got your revs, your speed, and your trip computer stuff as well. That is configurable a little bit if you want to. If I close that menu, you can see this very large screen that we have in the middle now, and you can go onto the maps and search for your favorite town if you really want to, and we'll see how quick that system is. Wow, that is quick. Is it? Oh, yeah. That's not bad at all. Yes, I know. So there you go. That's as simple as that to search for something. Now, if you want to change the climate controls, you will note there is a permanent bar along the bottom of the screen. So if I want to change the fan speed, I can like drag my finger up and down like that. Or if I want to change the temperature, I can also do exactly the same. Heated seats, that's all in here as well. 3 stages. That is an optional extra though, so beware. Heated steering wheel is also an optional. It won't let me turn that on because the car isn't actually on. So there you go. So yeah, it's not as good as if you had proper dials or buttons or stuff, but it's better than if you had to go out of a menu and then back into that, like you used to have to on VWs. So below that, we've got a couple of buttons for the stop start, a shortcut button for your parking cameras. Again, that is an optional extra. And you have the Ford quick clear screen thing, which is quite good in Britain because often your windscreen for 6 months of the year is just frozen. So that's very handy. You've also got a volume knob, and below that a phone charger, USB-C, and an old school USB as well. So if you live in the wrong century, that's handy. There's also a little cubby here, which really I've only noticed is big enough for the keys. So I think that must be what that's for. You've got an old school shifter as well. So park, reverse, neutral, drive, and SBOAT, because this is a Ford. And sticking with that old school theme, we have a proper manual handbrake. Look at that. We've got 2 cup holders, and the bottle that fits in there also comfortably fits in these rather large door bins as well. And if you put that back, you've got another cubby there. You've got an armrest, and you lift that up and you think, oh no, it's very shallow, but this comes out. And then you can stick your whole arm in there if you want to. But that's just for probably keeping coins or something like that, which is quite practical. Glove box. Well, I'm delighted to say that it is a full-size glove box, and there's a little shelf for the manual to go in as well. These seats are quite sporty with some nice red stitching and a bit of Alan Cantara. He's on here in the centres. And something of note is that the front passenger seat is adjustable for height, which isn't always the case. So that's quite nice. And then on my actual steering wheel, I've got the cruise control functions and self-drive stuff, you know, keep it in the lane. On this side, you've got your menu controls for up here, skipping tracks, volume, voice controls, all that sort of lovely stuff. And of course, I've got my big fat sunroof up here as well. This is a massive Bang & Olufsen speaker, which is sort of just plopped on top of the dashboard above the vents and everything. Now, it's fine for me because I can see over that even when the seat's in its lowest position. But I imagine if you are a tiny, 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 sweet little man like Jasper Bruce Wright, I have to imagine that I would only be able to see that if I was down here or if I'm a slightly smaller person. So I'm not sure. I can't report on that because I haven't been that tall since I was about 12. But it's just something to note. It's probably worth trying it out. Anyway, let's go and drive it because a Ford should drive really well. Okay then, so driving the Ford Puma. Now, historically, Fords have always been the driver's choice. And I think that's why they've always been, even when it was the Fiesta, you know, the best-selling car in Britain, because Britain and British people like a good car to drive, even if it's their like daily car. You know, we're not gonna settle for a half-assed job. We like a good chassis, good suspension, and good steering feel. So, does the Puma disappoint? No, I'm glad to report this is a rather fun little car to drive. This is an ST line trim, so it is slightly sportier than the normal ones, but if you drive the full ST hybrid now, that is a cracking little car. I mean, it really is fun to drive. Obviously, Fiesta ST drivers will say that it's nothing on that car, but I mean, they're pretty similar in terms of how they feel. I've driven them both. They're just annoyed that a little crossover can be as good as the Fiesta was. It really is super fun to drive. Now, this car has the 1 litre mild hybrid engine, and it's connected to a 7-speed automatic transmission. So we've got 125 horsepower, 170 newton meters of torque. Top speed is 118 miles an hour, and we can go from 0 to 60 in 9.6 seconds. So not amazingly fast, but obviously fast enough to be keeping up with modern traffic. In terms of economy, I've been driving this one throughout the week. It's got an average on my dashboard of about 44.5 miles to the gallon, which is not bad. It is rated at 49 on the WLTP cycle, so I'm sure that you can eke out more miles to the gallon if you were really trying. But to be fair, to be only 5 mpg below what it claims in absolute perfect conditions, it's pretty good going in my books. So yeah, steering feel is really rather good, and how it drives is really rather good, even in its sort of standard form with its basic engine. It's genuinely chuckable. It feels quite light on its toes. Obviously, it's basically got a wheel in each corner, so it is, you know, quite dynamic really when you want it to be. The only thing that I don't like is the steering wheel, which I mentioned obviously is basically square. So if you are in a tight car park, for example, like I sometimes am in Sainsbury's of all places, the wheel isn't quite where you left it when you're doing lots of maneuvers. So change that to a circle please, and then we'll all be grand. Overall then, pretty good fun. So let's head back and I shall do a proper conclusion. So that is the Puma tested. And to answer my question, I don't know, why asking me? Everyone buys them. Like, just if you like a small Ford, you can't get the Fiesta anymore. This is the option to go for. It looks quite interesting, like funky and cool and happy. Are there bigger cars in class? Yes, there are. Are there cars that are more fun to drive in class? No, there aren't. Maybe Kia Stonic's pretty good, but if you just want, like, if Ford people buy Fords, that's just how it is. If you want a Ford that's small, the Puma is a great car, but it just depends what you want. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. Comment down below and let me know your thoughts on the Puma. But most importantly, please do subscribe to the Buckle Up YouTube channel and ding the notification bell so you never miss one of our uploads. If you want to support what we do, you can follow us on social media. That's all linked down there. You can buy some lovely, lovely, sweet, sweet merchandise. Or you can become a channel member and get exclusive video things that are for them. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.